Hi, here's my second try at the case study. The last one had my head cut off, so here we go again. Um, Internet use violation and threats over the World Wide Web. Well, in this case, what do I know? The parents are professionals in a very affluent neighborhood. Um, we have Dr. Forbes, the principal, who's an award-winning principal, voted by from his peers. He does have a good relationship and is an established principal at this school. And he does work very hard to hire quality, highly qualified teachers. Miss Walker, the teacher in this case, is a second-year teacher. She finished her undergraduate, master's, and even more postgraduate work before becoming a teacher. She does teach very rigorous subjects and has a very high expectation for students, which causes them some stress. And she's home on a weekend and gets an email with a link to a website and, and with the ending question of who wants Miss Walker to disappear. She's in distress over this and contacts Dr. Forbes at home, and he sees the website. He looks at the website but sees it as a prank. And so Miss Walker does identify one student that she possibly thinks it could be. And Dr. Forbes prints hard copies and agrees to meet with her first thing in the morning. In this case, I needed to know, it has mentioned that many parents had complained about Miss Walker. And so I would maybe want to also look back and know which parents have had big concerns or which kids have had big concerns. I would also want to know if there's any identifying names or other clues and the policies for searching students' personal website use. So the main problem in all of this is that Miss Walker feels personally threatened. She actually feels threatened with her life in this case. And as the website not only criticized her instruction, but her personally as well. And Dr. Forbes has a responsibility to figure out who is responsible for this. So in resolving this problem, um, it mentions in the case that if need be, they would contact the district, that he would contact the district technology people if needed. I honestly think I would start there to see if they could maybe determine the origin of the website. Also, I'd be reviewing recent parent and student complaints about Miss Walker. Um, I would also review the website and determine if there were some ways to find out some identifiers on those comments, if he could maybe narrow it down to some students to identify and interview. Then as he begins interviewing students, of course, start with Randy Franks that Miss Walker had mentioned, but again, probably going to have to branch out from there and see who actually is responsible for setting up the website. Through these steps, Dr. Forbes should be able to find out who is responsible for the website. Appropriate strategies for implementation. So it's very important, one of the ISLLC standards, that your staff and students feel safe. And in this case, Ms. Walker does not feel safe. So through the use of the district technology experts as well as student interviews, Dr. Forbes would find the student principal responsible for the website. Dr. Forbes does need to be careful with immediate accusal of a student. This is a right or wrong. It is a school with professional parents, and he's going to have to be very careful with how he handles the interviews with students. Randy Franks is the only student suspected at this time, and so he must just keep investigating to find out if that is indeed the case, that he's the creator of the website. Um, as I was reading this, I really kind of went back and forth with whether to notify police or not. Um, I th- I think maybe in today's times that might be also another resolution to the case. I was thinking that that this is a case about malice, actual malice towards this teacher. They are truly um, trying to cause her harm. I did see it as a prank, just one of those things that kids might do. But I also have to understand that Miss Walker's very scared, and I am not the one being attacked, and so I have to keep that respectful as well for her. Um, this case, to me, at first, there's a pretty good paragraph in the case about how um, her classroom is conducted, and it's very tough and strict and rigorous. And Dr. Forbes had spoken with her and tried to help her uh, conduct her class so that perhaps it was, she had a better relationship with students. And it did mention in the case that she hadn't really attached on to any of those suggestions yet. However, I don't feel like this case is at all about how she conducts her class, but um, this is a case about a student who has done, who has chosen to do something wrong by threatening her, and has not chosen the correct way to go about dealing with her class if that student is unhappy. I also am hoping that she's a member of her local teachers association and could use them as a resource. They would also be able to help guide her through, if it did become a police issue with her pressing charges and things. So that might be helpful as well. Um, I am I do value that she's a second year teacher. It did mention that he had renewed her for a second year, so there's got to be some promise there of her class, her teaching ability. Um, I also was very worried, and it would probably sadden me had I known that there would be a student that would go to these links uh, to bring Miss Walker down. Um, and I know I would just really want to work and value that. Hopefully, if my students had a problem, they would know the proper channels to go through when dealing with a problem with one of their teachers. And they also must know the consequences of these actions. Unresolved issues, I mentioned just briefly that I don't know at which point the police would need to be involved. It probably depend on how quickly the student interviews went and whether we got anywhere there. Also, not sure if Miss Walker's a member of her local association or her union. It might encourage her to use them as a resource. And the other thing that I hate to even say, but this is a very affluent school, regarded as a prestigious school. Um, how difficult might it be for Mr. Forbes, Dr. Forbes, to fully investigate this and see this as a serious offense? And if the police do need to be called and it does need to become, a much bigger issue than a prank, is he prepared to do that? The building level administrator demonstrates a sense of integrity and ethical behavior. Of course, he dealt with the problem immediately by looking at the website. He has been a principal for 9 years, so obviously has got some of those characteristics. He's very respected by the parents, and he was principal of the year. That's all very good evidence of his integrity and ethical behavior. He acted with fairness. This might be back to unresolved, you know, he agrees to interview the suspected student. He agrees to involve the technology experts. And at this part, maybe it could be seen his fairness is in not involving the police yet, and perhaps this can be dealt with the school technology policies in place. The building level administrator demonstrates a personal and professional code of ethics, the ISLC standard 5 here. He does hire the most qualified applicants that he can hire, and he does work to help teachers improve their interactions with students. It did mention that he had been with Ms. Walker trying to help her with her classroom instruction and delivery. I do know that never having really been threatened, it would be difficult to know how Miss Walker truly feels in this case, and I would hope with the professional code of ethics that Dr. Forbes would handle this with great care and make sure that the issue is resolved.